I'm going to paint this photo in the style of David Hockney. Well, I'm going to try. Alright, Steve Elliott here again, working on my Painting in the Style of series. Today I'm going to try and do a painting in the style of David Hockney. Now, David Hockney was born in 1937 and he is still alive. So he's a contemporary artist, and the first time I have tried to do a painting of somebody in the style of that is still living. So I should really say at this point that David Hockney does not endorse this video or me or anything I'm doing like that. And I wouldn't want anybody to think he did, because I wouldn't want to offend him, because I am a massive fan of David Hockney. I've followed his work for a long time and really admire all of his stuff. So anyway, very quickly, this style, he does paint sort of big bold colours, and I felt I needed to use an airbrush to get this painting started. So for the first time ever in a digital painting, I've used an airbrush to start off the painting. So I just wanted to say that, throw that in there. The rest of the painting I did with an oil brush and the turpentine brush. So David Hockney then, he is a British painter, printmaker, stage designer and photographer, and an important contributor to the pop art movement of the 60s. And is considered by most, or considered to be one of the most influential painters of the 20th century. And he is English, and he was born in Bradford, which is in Yorkshire. And as far as the last time I saw him on TV, he still has his Yorkshire accent, and it is a cracking accent. I love it, and I love to hear him speak. I just really admire the man. So, as a young lad, he was born in Bradford, and he went to Bradford Grammar School. So that means he passed his 11 plus. And for those of you that don't know what that is, back in the day, we don't do this anymore in this country, but back in the day, every child at the age of 11 had to take an exam to measure their academic abilities. And if you passed, you went to a grammar school. And if you failed, you went to a secondary modern school where the education wasn't as good, and you weren't likely to do so well at school. I went to a secondary modern school because I didn't pass my 11 plus, but David Hockney did. And then he went to the Bradford College of Art and the Royal College of Art in London. And while he was there, he was featured in an exhibition called The Young Contemporaries, and that was put together by an organisation called New Contemporaries, and their purpose is to promote young talent. And alongside David Hockney was Peter Blake in the same exhibition, and he created the Sgt. Pepper's iconic album cover. So quite a prestigious exhibition to be in. And that really announced the arrival of pop art. And although David was sort of considered a pop art artist, he still contained elements of expressionism in his work. And when he was at the Royal Academy in 1962, the Academy was not going to award him a diploma. So, because he refused to complete an assignment of a female model, and a written assignment because he said he should be judged on his merit of his art, not an essay. So if he went to grammar school, he was clearly capable of writing an essay. And at this point, he was 25 years old. So I suppose he was mature enough to stand up for his beliefs and not be bullied. So he, in a protest, he painted a picture called Life Painting for a Diploma. And I've put a link in the description below if you want to have a look at that painting. It's quite interesting. And believe it or not, the Royal College of Art changed their rules so they could give him a pass, give him his diploma, because they realised the potential of the artist. That is phenomenal, really, to take on the establishment like that and win is incredible. And I can't imagine anybody doing that these days. I don't know, maybe they could if they've got the talent, but I don't know. So anyway, back to my painting. I thought I would do a sort of seascape, well, underwater. It could be it is actually in fact in the sea, but my paint, as you can see in the photo, but my painting could be in a swimming pool, because I did do lots of paintings in swimming pools, and I thought, okay, that seems to be the obvious choice. And on reflection, I think I may have made a mistake. I've got a link below so you can see the painting I'm referencing, because obviously David Hockney is still alive. I couldn't find any images that weren't copyright protected, and I don't want to run foul of anybody using their artwork, and not just running foul. It ain't right. You know, I firmly believe that you shouldn't blatantly rip off other artists, and so I respect the copyright laws and rules, so I wouldn't use an image that's copyright protected. So that's why you can't see the painting that I'm referencing, but I'll put a link below. And his work, a lot of his work is quite flat, and this isn't. So I will state right now, normally I say, I'll let you decide if you think I've achieved it or not. But in this case, I've got issues with it. I think it's too three-dimensional. It needed to be flatter. And he does get a lot of really sharp angles in his work, which I've not managed to achieve in this, because the subject matter doesn't warrant it. Having said that, again, I really enjoyed doing this painting. And at this point, I have to say, I quite like this almost as a finished painting as it is, because it's all on a similar tone. There's not a lot of darks and shades. I'd love to hear your comments. Do you think this is a finished painting as it stands, just before I put that blue blob in there? Or do you prefer the one at the end? I'd like to know what your opinions are on that. Unfortunately, I didn't save a version of the early one. I've only got the one at the end. But again, I do like it. I like the finished painting a lot, but I'm not convinced I've actually achieved an Hockney, and I've run it by a few people and nobody so far could guess what the style was, so I'm not surprised. Anyway, back to David Hockney. He was openly gay right from the beginning of his career, really, and he reflected that in much of his work, where he's explored the nature of gay love in his work, and there's lots of examples of that. If you look on, I think the source photo is actually off David Hockney's website, and you'll see lots of examples there. And in 1966, he became romantically involved with American painter and artist Peter Schlesinger. I think I've pronounced that right, because I've written some notes down. It's really scruffy and I'm struggling reading it now. But he's in lots of his paintings, and he's been quite controversial through his life, really. He turned down a knighthood at some point, and but he's always experimented with his art and with technology and materials, including fax paper and printmaking and photography. And I remember back in the 80s, I was into photography, and I made myself a dark room when people used to develop film and make prints that way. There was no digital imagery or anything like that. And I watched a program about David Hockney, and this was my introduction to him, actually, where he'd invented something called joiner photography, and he'd got a Polaroid camera, and he was taking lots of instant photos, hundreds of photos of a scene, and then patching them all together to make one composite finished piece of work. And it just blew me away. I was just so fascinated by it. For me, it was totally unaffordable to do because I couldn't afford to buy the film to take the photos. Since then, I have actually done quite a bit of joiner photography work and experimented producing different types of joiner photography and using other techniques digitally, where it's just so affordable now because you can take thousands of pictures and it doesn't cost you a penny. But back in the day, it doesn't sound a big deal now, but it was really groundbreaking. And that for me was my introduction to Hockney, and I was really impressed, and I've been a lifelong fan ever since that. And now, he's even used an iPad and produces lots of portraits and work on an iPad using art apps. And you can see loads of examples of that on his website. Again, there's a link in the description below if you want to take a look at that. So a real innovator and imaginative painter. Got a reputation of being a bit awkward sometimes, perhaps, but absolutely stunning painter. In 2012, Queen Elizabeth II awarded him the Order of Merit. So it didn't matter that he turned down the knighthood. It didn't seem to offend her in any way, because he was given this Order of Merit, and this is restricted to 24 members at a time. There's never any more than 24 members for their contribution to art and sciences. So that is David Hockney. He's still going strong. He's 80 years old now, and he's still painting. Apparently he can still stand at an easel for 6 hours a day and does the business. And again, I watched another documentary about him where he was setting up this exhibition. I've actually been to a David Hockney exhibition that was shown in Nottingham. But this particular one, it was quite adamant, not forceful, I suppose. It was really fussy about where the paintings were hung and how far the distance was between them. So his attention to detail is phenomenal, even to the point of, hanging the pictures. I can't even keep a picture straight in my house. My bro, when he comes in, the first thing he does, he starts straightening up my paintings, because they're all over the place, because I don't see that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm sort of digressing. Let's get back to the painting. He did, I think I've got the colours okay, because that was fairly simple. I just sampled them off the Hockney painting, and I made a lot of references to continually looking at the source painting, to how he'd shaded the body in the painting I was looking at, and the sort of blue greens that he got in there. And I put them in. And now I'm looking at this painting, I actually really, really like this version. And I'm glad I kept at it and worked at it and put a lot more effort in. As I was saying, I'm not so sure it's worked as painted in the style of Hockney. I might have another go at one and try and achieve a much more flat painting. What I was really looking at, I thought I would do it and take the easy option of painting these sort of lines that are in the water, which kind of trademarked some of his paintings, and I thought that would do it, but it's clearly not. I was missing a lot, certainly with trying to make this a more three-dimensional painting. I should have gone more aerial, I think, and looked down on it rather than putting depth into the painting. But as a painting, I'm really, really pleased with it. I think it's worked really well, and I'm really chuffed. So there we go. That's it. Painting in the style of David Hockney. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. As always, it's much appreciated. Helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots more paintings just like this, all about digital painting, and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.